Where do we want to go shopping today? I don't know. Let's see who's open. I wonder if there's any sales. That's my bad joke.
So up here in the north, winter is wintering, and they throw around that word polar vortex. Well, that's no fun. But to the industrious, you find ways around that, and I like riding all year round. And recently I had the opportunity to ride around an empty mall at length, so I could talk to you about the wheel I have behind me, the INMOTION V9. And there's a lot of interesting things to talk about involving this wheel. INMOTION did not send me this wheel, I bought it on my own. And a huge shout out to the wonderful folks who run the Uniontown Mall for letting me come in and turn their mall into somewhat of a little bit of a go-kart track. It was awesome, and I can't wait to come back and do it again.
So with all that being said, let's get into it, because there's a lot to talk about with this wheel.
Out of the box, the INMOTION V9 comes with the stock charger as well as an air pump that you're gonna use to put pressure inside the air shocks that the V9 features.
So the V9 was actually packaged really well. Pulling this wheel up out of the box, I was actually surprised by the weight. It being only about 50.7 pounds, it didn't feel much different than the V10. And this wheel to me is just the next progression of the V10, but one of the lightest wheels to feature suspension.
Also inside the box is gonna be an instruction manual, and on the back, you're gonna see some QR codes, which take you to the INMOTION website, as well as to download the INMOTION app. This being a smart wheel, at least that's what I'm being told, it's one of the smartest wheels that have come out recently. It has a lot of features, and the app is how you're gonna control those features. If anyone's used to using EUC World or DarknessBot, I feel like that's the direction INMOTION's kind of taking their app to where you can actually track your rides and you can geo-track the wheel, so if somebody steals it, you know where it went. I did notice when you actually activate your wheel and you claim ownership of it through the app, there's only a year of you having those location services, and then I think it might move to subscription afterwards, which I've never had that with my other wheels, so I don't know if I'll miss it. Maybe I will. In 12 months, I'll tell you. Quickly looking at the body, the INMOTION V9 is gonna feature an adjustable headlight, and it also has a daytime running light feature, which I think's pretty good. The headlight has this natural cutoff, so you're not gonna blind people. And the fact that it's adjustable, even better.
One criticism about the daytime running light, I wish it had a strobing or flashing feature. In INMOTION, if you're watching, maybe that's as simple as a firmware update. I feel like if you're out riding around with pedestrians, cars, cyclists, they're gonna notice something strobing or flashing coming at them than something that's just on the whole time. Other than that, the headlight's great.
You're also gonna notice a top handle. There's gonna be a little button that lets you extend it and close it, as well as the motor kill switch is also underneath that handle. So that way, if you need to pick it up a small flight of steps, engage that button, kill the motor, and you're good to go. You're also gonna notice that it has a nice beefy tire, as well as spiked pedals. So the pedals that come with this wheel are apparently the same as what comes on the V14. And for the style of riding that I think you're gonna do, they feel really good. I feel like there's plenty of real estate for your foot to land, or for you to adjust or position on. To me, this kind of feels like the veteran wheels that are stock, where it's that molded spike pedal. You gotta do something to it to make it a little grippier. But the fact that it comes with the spike pedals, I like it.
Now, last year, when I rode the V10 around this time, I felt like I was a lot more cautious when I rode because of those grip style pedals. I feel like they work great, but if you get them wet or slightly dirty, muddy, the grip essentially goes away. And I feel like these were definitely a smarter choice.
Any of the wheels, which I feel like these new ones are replacing the older generations, they're definitely getting rid of that grip tape pedal and they're moving into that spike pedal territory. So that's good. I'm a spike pedal fan. It's also got this really cool kind of retro futuristic design to it. I dig it. The shell seems pretty sturdy and strong. It might scuff up over time if you're wearing knee pads or whatnot, but I mean, hey, these things can take a beating, right? So is that really that big of a deal? Kind of makes it look cooler. It goes from looking like something retro-futuristic to Mad Max once you've wrecked it a few times. I don't know, Mad Max could look cool. You're also gonna notice that there's some lighting effects on the side of the wheel. I think anything that makes your wheel more visible while you're riding is a great thing. And I do like that INMOTION has a lot of customizable features for the lights. You can change the color, you can change their pattern. Currently, I have mine set to follow speed, which, I think it's a cool look for the wheel. I also like the big, bulky looking lights in the back. That to me also kind of seals in that retro vibe.
I do love the fact that they include these nice turn signals. But really, I feel like your upper body, your arms, that's gonna be how you indicate to other people on the road what exactly you're doing.
Any lights that bring attention to you as a rider and let people know that you're doing something, I think's a great thing. And I love that the lights on this wheel are big. Are they useful? I don't think so. But they're useful in the sense that they make you more visible, especially if you ride at night. But if you rely on them to actually be a turn signal, the problem is that it doesn't light up until you're actually doing the turn. So please, hand signals always, that's the way to go, in my opinion. I hope that makes sense. Anyone else who agrees or disagrees, I don't know, throw it in the comments. Maybe I'm crazy. So the ride feel of the INMOTION V9, the best I can put it is it's very smooth.
It's just this little thing that's effortless to move. To me, it just feels like a fatter tire version of the V10, but with suspension.
The acceleration of the wheel, I didn't put too much stock into it because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is gonna be like the V10. I felt like I could overpower the V10. And I'm saying that because when I ride my Patton or I ride my Sherman, I can ride those pretty aggressively. I'm usually sometimes in traffic and I'm like, okay, it's a green light, I'm going, I gotta brake. But the V9, I take my time with, and I haven't felt that it's grinded or grumbled with any hills or anything that was kind of challenging.
I gotta say too, its lightweight makes it nice and nimble. So being able to kind of wheel in between all these little obstacles, it feels pretty good. I feel like adding power pads to this wheel is unnecessary. I don't know if you need to ride this thing aggressively. I think all you're gonna do is sneak up to that top speed and potentially have a cutout. Maybe if you wanna have some cushion where your calves or knees might come in contact with the body, but it feels really well balanced.
Manipulating it, turning it, braking it, it's all smooth. Smooth is the word that I would use to really describe the ride feel for the V9.
Now this is what I'm waiting to do. It's some decent weather to really talk about handling. And this thing is nimble. It's very nimble. I feel like it's incredibly easy to control. And it's kind of effortless to make this thing go where you want to. This is not a fast wheel. This is a commuter wheel, and I'll probably say this 600 times during this video. This is not going to be a speedster.
Is it a race wheel? No. Is it a good commuter? Yes. If you lived on a college campus and you were gonna zing this thing around as your main mode of transportation, I don't think you can go wrong. Especially if this is gonna be your first wheel to learn on, you transitioning to a larger, more capable wheel, I think is going to be very seamless, aside from the actual weight of that new wheel. Another great thing that really drew me to the V9 is that it's one of the lightest wheels made that has suspension.
I mean, I like it. The suspension, it feels pretty good. The air shock has been interesting. It's my first wheel with an air shock.
And I don't know if it's maybe that I've been a little spoiled by the shock systems in the veteran wheels, but the air shock has been somewhat of an adjustment, at least into my daily maintenance when I want to ride.
What I found was I had to put air not only in the bottom chambers, but the top chambers. And when you look at the manual does not tell you about the top chambers, which is your rebound.
Now they do have a chart in the manual that based on your weight, this is how much air pressure you should have in those bottom shocks.
And I ended up putting 200 PSI in mine because I wanted a little bit of a stiffer ride. When you go to the top chambers, your rebound, you're going to want to be around half of what you put in the bottom chambers.
So I'm running 200 PSI on the bottom and about 100 PSI up top. And that seems to be pretty good for me, because I usually like my suspension a little firmer. So I went a little above what was recommended.
Now that I have the suspension dialed in, it's nice. I feel like utilizing proper pressure in the bottom chambers and proper pressure in the top chambers, it's not wanting to spring me off, it just dampens that downward force. And now I think I have it where I want it.
When I was using the provided pump, when I would disconnect, I would lose around 40 to 70 PSI. Now, whether that's escaping the chamber or if it's just because of the way it's configured, you're having that pressure in the tube, you want to account for that. So I ended up shooting for over. I almost put about 300 PSI into the bottom chambers. So when I disconnected and I reconnected, it was about 200 PSI, which is what I wanted. And then I did the same thing for the top chambers using the included extender they give you. Once I finally did that, the suspension felt really good. So it's not too pogo-y, it's nice and firm like I like it. You're just gonna have to keep on top of it and make sure that as you ride, it's gonna be part of your maintenance schedule.
I do have a big gripe with a design error, and I feel like there's a big design flaw with the V9, and that is the caps to the top rebound chambers.
Oh man, the top plugs in this suspension was not really all that fun to work with.
Because when you try to remove those caps, at least for me, mine fell right into the wheel, and I spent a lot of time digging that thing out. And you don't realize when you're mad, 50 pounds ain't that heavy when you're shaking it with one hand, trying to dig those caps out. I was worried that the caps were gonna go further into the body and I was gonna have to tear the wheel apart to get to it. And I know the wheel has an IPX6 rating, but I feel like if you lose the caps, the IP rating is 0, which that's no good, especially if you're caught in the rain. So maybe InMotion can figure out a way to maybe anchor those caps to the top so they flip up, or just a different design. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. If you've experienced the same thing, put it in the comments, because I feel like maybe I was doing something wrong, or maybe I'm not alone on this. Top cap design definitely could be better. That's just my opinion. That's one of my major gripes, and probably one of my only gripes with the V9. So the tire that comes with this InMotion V9 is a 16-inch diameter by 3 inches wide CST street tire. And it's tubeless, which that's pretty great.
I mean, I don't know if I'm ever gonna go to an off-road tire again, 'cause I don't ride a whole lot of off-road, but I do like this street tire. I mean, this thing has a lot of grab to it. It feels great.
I've been preferring EUCs with tubeless tires for a major reason. Let's say you're going out on a ride, maybe you forgot to check your air pressure. Potentially that tube could shift inside the tire, and then it could crimp that valve stem and you could lose air. Your tire goes flat, which that wouldn't be good to do while you're riding. I've had tube tires and I hadn't had any of that happen to me yet. The Patent S is most definitely a tube tire. And I tend to have my pressure in my tire a little more towards the top end. For instance, if it's 35 PSI max, I'm probably riding at like 32, 33. That's what I'm running in this with. And I don't seem to have too much of an issue when I do that with tube tires. Now, whether or not I'm correct on that, I don't know. Anyone out there who's had tubed and tubeless tires on their EUCs, throw in the comments. What's been your experience? Which one do you prefer?
So the motor is rated at 1,000 watt nominal power, 2,000 watt peak, and it can climb an incline of 30 degrees, which I feel like that's gonna cover you in most situations. Even in Pittsburgh, it being pretty hilly, I don't think any of the routes that I've taken have been really over 30-degree inclines.
Now, the max weight that the wheel holds is around 265 pounds. I always feel like when it comes to motor and power, are they testing it at a 265 pound rider, or are they testing it at maybe, let's say, 180 to 200 pound rider? I'm not sure where that's done at, and I feel like that would have an effect, but I've seen several people of different heights, different weights, who've actually taken these things up some pretty steep inclines, and the V9 powered through it pretty well. So, as a commuter wheel, I feel like it's gonna have you covered on where you have to travel. Now, the wheel is also rated at 28 miles per hour top speed. Now, I have seen where that's also free spin, so maybe it's not gonna hit that speed.
I mean, the motor feels like it's gonna give me that acceleration when I need it, but am I gonna run this thing like I'm gonna run the Patton? Absolutely not. Or even the closest competitor, the Falcon. I haven't rode the Falcon, but I hear it's incredibly torquey. But I don't feel like that's what this wheel was designed for. I feel like I can easily get on it and get up to a comfortable traveling speed without it feeling like I'm gonna overpower it.
Now, I've never been a fan of taking any wheel to that absolute top speed number, because I feel like you are really treading on thin ice and you're gonna maybe incur a cutout or something could go wrong. So I've always felt that when they give you that top speed, you need to cut down by at least 15%. And that's the actual top speed in which you could safely ride without incurring any issues. For me, I feel like this wheel is going to live the best at its higher speeds, between 15 and 20 miles an hour. Could you sneak over to 22? I think it definitely could be done, but I really would use caution when doing that. Because even so, let's say you're riding at 22 miles an hour and you encounter a hill. The power draw that hill is going to force on that motor, it could be too much for what it needs to pull, and you might encounter a cutout. So I always think, don't take those top speeds as that's what I can do.
Utilize the app. Set your alarm, set your tilt back, so that way you don't sneak up to that top speed and have an unintentional cutout, meaning you didn't want the wheel to turn off while you were riding, but it did.
This is not going to be a speedster. This thing is going to be something very easy to control to get you where you need to go.
Those are my thoughts. If you have thoughts, share them. Maybe I'm being too cautious, but to me, this isn't a race wheel. This is a commuter wheel. This is a wheel to get you around an area pretty comfortably and have fun doing it. So the INMOTION V9, being an 84-volt wheel, features a 750 watt-hour Samsung GB battery. I've heard some people say that it's a Samsung S battery, and I'm not disputing that at all. I'm mainly going off of the information that I have got from INMOTION, that these wheels come with a Samsung GB battery. I don't think this is a wheel that you're gonna be riding at like high performance to where you maybe need the Samsung S battery. Now they say, with the included 750 watt-hour battery, you can expect a maximum range of up to 37 miles per full charge. I don't think that's too far off.
I've done 7 miles so far, and my battery range is at 87%. So riding at that 12 to 15 miles per hour that I've been doing for the past 7 miles, maybe that 37-mile range isn't too far-fetched.
Unless you're riding it at higher speeds, or you got a lot of inclines. I think that number could go down. But could you get around a city? Could you commute around a campus with this wheel? Absolutely. I absolutely think you could.
I'm gonna guess that you're probably realistically going to get maybe around 30 miles of range. That's my guess. Other people out there, if you have the V9, because it's been out for a minute, put in the comments, what are you getting per a full charge? Based on where you live, your terrain, include that too. Do you climb a lot of hills? Do you ride more on the top end?
So on the back of the wheel, you're gonna see a beefy weather-sealed cap that's going to reveal your charging port as well as a USB-A and a USB-C port. Now that single charging port is capable of doing rapid charging of up to 16 amps to get your wheel charged to full in 1 hour.
I love that this thing gives you 2 USBs, a USB-A and a USB-C. Now, they only work when the wheel's powered on, but if I'm riding around using the app to track my ride, I can charge my phone pretty quick.
Although I have to state, those ports will only work if the wheel is powered on. So keep that in mind. And another awesome thing about the battery of this wheel is it is UL certified. I remember when I first started learning about EUCs, that was always one consideration I had about which one would I buy. You heard some horror stories about certain types of batteries randomly catching fire, and that was always a concern. There was even people buying those fire bags to keep their wheels in. And it wasn't until I looked at other reviewers who would talk about the differences of batteries and how safe they were that it made me make decisions that I felt were gonna be best for me. Knowing that the battery has been tested so that unintentional fires won't happen or the battery itself just won't fail, that's a great thing to know, and it brings a lot of peace of mind. So again, fantastic that this wheel has a UL certification. So the V9 also features speakers, which most of the INMOTION wheels do. But the speakers on this one, they're actually really good. Even in the wind, I could hear what I was playing. But I also like that they've included a ride sync feature. So if you have other INMOTION V9s, or I'm guessing that INMOTION's going to include this with their other wheels, you actually can have a jam session by syncing up all the wheels to play the same song.
And that could be super cool, especially if you're riding in a big group and you're all like, hey, let's just agree to listen to the same thing.
I've rode with guys in groups where they would do that with apps, or they'd try to time their phone and hit play at the same time, and they'd all be listening to the same song in sync. It didn't work that great, but the idea was pretty cool. And the fact that INMOTION was out there thinking, that's a good idea. It kind of shows that they're trying to look into the future of how do people enjoy these devices. So y'all could be jamming to the same music, but you know what? What if you don't like each other's music? Well, then go right off and listen to your own. The speaker's well enough to do that.
I don't know, everybody thinks they have the best music. And then I guess by comparison, you're like, maybe we don't.
And what I also like about this wheel too is it also features smart BMS. So for those of you who like to monitor your battery cells and see how they're charging and see if there's any issues, the wheel features it. And you can monitor all of that within the app.
So the manual does describe this as having a touchscreen. However, you cannot touch the screen and control any of the settings. So you're still gonna have to go through the app.
Now, I'm not someone who's too techie, but I have read that it features a next-gen Raptor M board, which can supply 180 amps high current output for fast acceleration. Now, to some people out there, that means a lot. For me, I'm just like, is it gonna put me on my ass? I don't want that to happen. But the technology seems pretty exciting for what this thing is and for what this thing can do. And for anyone out there that'd be interested in that, it does feature a next-gen Raptor M controller. I don't want to wreck. And if that keeps me from wrecking, great. Well, I should keep me from wrecking. So who do I think this wheel is for? I could see this being for anybody.
Because we're in a world now where there's wheels that are over 200 volts. This one is 84 volts. But I think for the use cases, and that's the most important thing, what would you use this wheel for? I don't know if people are gonna be taking this wheel and jumping it and going performance. I think they're gonna be using it to commute.
If you want a wheel because you want to go really fast and you want to race it, this isn't it. But let's say you wanted to run to the post office. Heck, I want to go down the street, snag something to eat, and then maybe just cruise around and listen to music. That's where I think this thing is. I think this wheel is for anyone who wants to commute or just have casual enjoyment or have a new way to explore your town or your city.
I feel like anybody that would see the value in this wheel, which if you catch it on sale, you can get it around $1,000. Currently, I think it's $1,299. I think at $1,000, it's great. It's really great.
But let's say you were looking at this as your first wheel. I think I can wholeheartedly recommend this as anyone's first wheel.
This really is the beginner wheel. If you are someone who is confident and has at least a general athletic ability, this is your natural first wheel.
I mean, this wheel has it all. It's around 50 pounds. And it's gonna feature suspension. It's gonna be able to climb steeper inclines. It's gonna be able to have higher range, higher top speed, and really cruising around 12 to 15 miles an hour, it's a lot funner than what you would think, especially too if you're thinking, well, I need to go 35. Maybe start at 15. I recommended the V6 because not only of its price point, its weight, it's such a manageable thing. But when you do learn the wheel, it's going to be a capable mode of transportation that's gonna give you a taste of all the features more capable wheels have, which is why I think it would be the perfect place to start.
And its price point's pretty similar to an e-bike, except for this is a lot easier to store and carry.
If you're willing to come up to this wheel and around its price point, you will not make a mistake and you will not regret it. And if the $12.99 price tag is something that's a little off-putting, and I understand that totally can be a factor, just keep an eye on INMOTION's site. They do run sales periodically.
But if you are getting this as your first wheel, I really highly recommend that you go somewhere like Home Depot or Lowe's, get some of that child-proof foam or those foam sheets and wrap the wheel. Because even though the plastic is rated to be not brittle, it's strong, the wheel looks really nice. And I think when you're learning, you're definitely gonna be dropping it. So you wanna be aware of that, and you want to take precautions to keep your wheel at least nice for a while. Maybe that's a stupid thing. I like keeping my stuff looking nice. Some people, they're all about, hey, it's a machine, I'm gonna run it, and I'm gonna make it do shit. And you're not wrong for thinking that. Hey, you bought it. You ride it unapologetically the way you want.
But I really do think learning on this wheel is gonna open you up to a whole world of possibilities as far as where you would go with your next wheel. Or you might actually say, for what I do, for how I travel, this is enough. And I could see some people actually being fine with what this wheel offers as it being their primary wheel. So these are just my thoughts and impressions, and hopefully this information helps you out. I look forward to seeing you all out there sailing the concrete seas.